Thank you, Marty. Good morning. How is everyone? Bright and chipper? Good. First of all, I want to thank Marty Rosenberg for incubating this conference. Marty is really one of the thought leaders in our industry, and I'm so appreciative. I've seen him time and time again identify the big issues, the big questions in the industry, and then gather around great people like are here today to opine on them. And then he follows up by writing and testing the thinking further. And it's really a great service to the industry, and particularly now with everything that we have on our plate. So thank you, Marty. So I am delighted to be here this morning, both to welcome you to the beautiful city of Chicago, and it's a great day to be here. It isn't always in November, but today it is. And also to share my excitement around the topic of energy transformation, the revolution in the electric industry that is poised to change our world in very fundamental and dramatic ways. Now, the last time we seriously used the word revolution in this country was the 1960s. Now, I was a child in the 60s, but I was not quite old enough to be a child of the 60s. And having had a ringside seat to the 60s, but being forced to claim my era as the 1980s, well, that always left me feeling a little flat and frankly deprived. First, deprived of a revolution, and the disco revolution is no revolution. And second, deprived simply of a respectable decade to call my own. Now, who can identify with leg warmers, parachute pants? And are there any Milli Vanilli fans out there? I didn't think so. Okay. So I am delighted to finally be a part of a revolution, and a respectable one at that. I've been waiting my whole life for this. And a revolution it is. Moving a classic 20th century service, fossil-based and mass-produced, to a 21st century model worthy of a digital economy and a digital world is one of the most impactful endeavors of this era. Deemed the third industrial revolution, the convergence of energy and digital communications will create an energy internet that is ultra-reliable, clean, lean, and which must ultimately respond to the clarion call of the millennium: customized, connected, and communal. This is, after all, the age of the smartphone and the internet, the foundational digital tools that put your highly personalized world at your disposal, connect you to anyone or everyone through the channel of your choice, and which facilitate the creation of communities through this unique and unrelenting connectivity. Communities of extended families through Facebook, communities of video game players located across the globe, linked by this technology, and even communities of revolutionaries who stage coups via Twitter and Facebook in Egypt, in Ukraine, and in Tunisia. So for the community of the 21st century, the convergence of these well-known 21st century tools with a largely unknown 20th century service like energy creates endless possibilities and a multitude of questions. What is clear, though, is that in this century, energy will emerge from the shadows of the 20th century mass production, from the shadow of the Henry Ford philosophy, you can have what you like as long as it's black, square, and steel, and be recreated in the Burger King fashion, have it your way. For the 21st century, for the community of the 21st century, energy will bring consumers out of isolation and turn them into market players and energy traders and members of energy communities. And for the community of the 21st century, energy will shed its change of control at the commanding heights of big government and big oil, with wind and solar and batteries instead shifting the power to the people. It's the 60s all over again. Clean, lean, ultra-reliable, customized, connected, and communal. This is what the revolution is all about. And according to Department of Energy Secretary Ernie Moniz, we are in the revolution now. Game on. For me, the notion of this energy revolution and ComEd's location in the city of Chicago are set in perfect repose. This is in part because Chicago, as Marty indicated, is the birthplace of the last major energy revolution, the birthplace of electric power, the place Thomas Edison sent his right-hand man, Sam Insull, to sell light bulbs, and in doing so, built the business model. This is in part because Chicago is a city of innovation and creative chaos, a city of many firsts: the skyscraper, the remote control, the nuclear reaction, the handheld mobile phone, the Twinkie. Bet you didn't know that. And in part because Chicago is the great hub, crossroads of the United States, the great connector, before connection was a twinkle in the eye of the internet creator, Al Gore, CIA, who knows. The place where rail, then telephone lines, and now fiber converge from all parts of the country and connect us all. And finally, because Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, the perfect social structure for the energy revolution. As we move into the new energy revolution, the monolithic look and feel of our industry will change dramatically. All of our functions will be sliced, diced, and reconstituted into more granular and more individualized packages. And what better model for this offering than the neighborhood? With the track record in innovation, connection, and community, we in Chicago are ready to embark on the next revolution. So I think we can agree that there's a substantial agreement that there is a revolution. There is significant agreement as to many of the features of the post-revolutionary state. However, just as there is with any revolution, there is disagreement as to the means of achieving the end state. Lenin didn't agree with Marx on what nature of proletariat should lead the revolution. Gandhi didn't agree with Nehru on the governmental structure of the country after revolution. And Fidel and Che, well, Che ended up not in Cuba, but in Bolivia and out in the cold. And this third revolution, this third industrial revolution, is no different. There is much debate on the vehicle for achieving the goals. The seminal question of the debate is whether the grid, as we know it, has a real role to play, or whether we discard it for a more disaggregated model. Whether the energy future is connected and communal through the vehicle of the grid, or customized to the point of disconnection. Those who envision the latter scenario paint a picture of home-based power plants, solar arrays and batteries, owned and leased, maintained and operated at the individual homeowner level. They declare the grid is dead, promoting the theory that the best way to a superior energy future for everyone is to tear down rather than leverage the complex and ubiquitous existing architecture to create value broadly through scale economies and connectivity. To this chorus, I respond as would Mark Twain: reports of my death are greatly exaggerated. And here's what they're missing. In a world where customers have rooftop solar and wind and basement batteries, where there are more electric vehicles on the road, where power is coming from and going to many different places, the grid becomes more, not less important. And why? Because of the power of the network. Everyone in this audience understands the power of networks, of the idea that creating more connections creates greater scale, efficiency, and impact than anyone or anything can achieve alone. It's called Metcalfes Law. A network becomes more valuable the more uses made of it. Facebook isn't such a powerful tool with 100 people, but get 1 million or 1 billion people in that network and you have something transformative. A healthcare network with 2 doctors and a hospital isn't very impactful, but add hundreds of doctors and dozens of hospitals and you have powerful choices and efficiencies. A single home with its own rooftop solar array and a basement battery is a powerful idea, but becomes far more powerful if that setup is part of a network that does what networks do. Networks enhance choice by incorporating cleaner forms of energy, making them accessible to everyone in the network. Networks generate efficiencies by incenting energy flows to the right place at the right time. And networks create opportunity by facilitating a 21st century marketplace, power to the people, where some customers are drawing energy from the grid and others are feeding energy back into it. The evolving smart grid is akin to the smartphone that serves as the foundational technology for all those different applications on your phone. The smart grid is the foundation, the backbone, not only for the energy system of the future, but for neighborhoods of the future. According to UC Berkeley professor Carl Shapiro, quote, "There is a central difference between the old and new economies. The old industrial economy was driven by economies of scale. The new economy is driven by economies of networks." So if we accept that the grid or the network is the foundation of the new energy world, we must also recognize that the grid is evolving as our world is evolving, and the 20th century model is in need of a makeover. In northern Illinois, the 21st century grid is under construction as we speak, in the form of 3 networks that individually and in combination can deliver great value to consumers. The foundation, of course, is the physical grid, the network composed of lines and poles, but with new smart technology, it's operating more reliably and dynamically than ever before. And increasingly, it's a digital network, because so much of what we're doing now, the smart systems we're adding, and much of what we will do in the future is built on telecommunications technology. And third, it's a social network, because ComEd's electric grid connects us directly through multiple channels to nearly 10 million people. We have the ability to communicate with all these people about ways to improve their comfort, positively impact the environment, save money, and stay safe in emergencies. The convergence of these 3 networks will create great value. So how are we building this triple network, this network of networks? Well, let me start where we started, at the grid. In 2011, as Marty indicated, the Illinois General Assembly passed a progressive piece of legislation, the Smart Grid Act. We're nearly 4 years in. We've replaced 2,000 miles of cable, installed 2,500 smart switches, rebuilt 20,000 manholes, and in one of our most impactful programs, we've installed almost 2 million smart meters at this point. The work has allowed us to lay the foundation for the 21st century network and deliver on the promises we made to the people of Northern Illinois upon passage of the bill. We committed to improved reliability, and I have to compliment my team. The last 2 years have been record-setting years for ComEd's reliability performance, and 2015 is on track to crush those previous records and become our best year in history. We committed, thank the team. We committed to improving customer experience during storms, and our restoration times have improved by 30%. We have committed to delivering the means to more affordable power, and we have begun to do that by avoiding nearly 6 million outages in 4 years through smart technology and infrastructure investment. We've generated savings and benefits of over $1 billion. By leveraging smart meters this summer and piloting a peak rebate program, we saved small groups of customers hundreds of thousands of dollars in a few short hours. We're building out the digital network, the communications overlay to the grid that will optimize efficiency, move us from usage to uses, and provide the transactional platform for the marketplace of the people. At ComEd, we're conducting a proof of concept for smart LED streetlights in 2 communities near Chicago. We've installed 735 smart LED fixtures on ComEd-owned streetlights, reducing the lighting bills for these communities by 2/3. We've deployed software that the local municipalities can use to monitor and control streetlights themselves, dimming them for further savings and brightening them for safety. To further develop the benefits of the digital network, we've partnered with 2 startup analytics companies that take data off our smart meters and reconstitute the data, allowing customers to see exactly how and when they use energy, with the means to take action. The Bidgely application disaggregates usage data all the way down to the appliance level, and Meter Genius, a Northwestern University startup, shows real-time usage and offers incentives for reducing usage, points that can be used to purchase things around town. And finally, on the social network front, we've launched a variety of portals for individual customer communities. Our property manager portal allows property managers to orchestrate tenant moves with ComEd Online. Our municipal portal allows municipalities to prioritize restoration online in emergency events. We are building a web and mobile marketplace to offer customers a broad array of products and services to act on the data they receive through the digital network to reduce usage and bills. To date, most of the improvements have been operational, focusing on the physical grid. And while we have more work to do on the network side and more significant functionality to come, this work lays the foundation for analytics that allow us to predict and avoid outages, situational awareness and flexibility that allows us to host distributed generation and battery storage, and visibility from substation to meter that allows us to run a leaner system. So I want to finish today by taking us back to first principles: customized, connected, communal, and neighborhoods. How are we adapting energy to all the different permutations of neighborhood in Chicago? Well, we're conducting an engineering assessment on new innovative cable, a superconductor that would allow us to network the main substations in the Chicago loop, creating the ability to lose one or more substations on the grid and transfer load to the remaining substations of this new little grid to keep the city center neighborhood up and running. We're conducting a community storage pilot that will test an innovative product made right here in Chicago by S&C Electric. The community-sized battery will allow several hours of backup generation to a small cluster of homes, a neighborhood, in the event of an outage. And the centerpiece of our networks and neighborhoods idea is a series of 6 microgrids built throughout northern Illinois. These microgrids connect to the main grid or operate independently. 5 of them are targeted at critical public infrastructure, designed to ensure that electric power is available for critical services like healthcare at the Illinois Medical District, water access at the Chicago Heights pumping station, and emergency response services at the new DuPage County Center, even if the big grid is not available. Our 6th microgrid focuses on a more traditional definition of neighborhood and will be located in the Bronzeville community on Chicago's South Side. This microgrid will feature solar generation, battery storage, a community dashboard for neighborhood engagement, and many other smart features. Situated next door to the IIT microgrid, Bronzeville would become host to the first microgrid cluster in the world, meaning the 2 microgrids can be dispatched together, each microgrid's energy source capable of feeding the customers in the other microgrid. The project is considered so important to the future of resilient grid design by the Department of Energy that ComEd, in partnership with its hometown buddies IIT, S&C Electric, and Argonne Labs, was the only utility in the country to receive a grant in this program. With Bronzeville, though, it's as much about the neighborhood as it is about the technology. And I'd like to show you a brief video.
Imagine a community where the streetlights could anticipate your steps and provide you with a safely lit walking path to your car at night. Imagine a city where that same car has just been freshly charged at a local publicly accessible EV charging station. Imagine a neighborhood where a group of residents come together to create a community solar garden, saving money and even selling their excess solar energy back to the grid. This is a community of the future. A community where the smart grid is fully leveraged to connect residents to each other and to the many valuable uses of smart grid technology. ComEd and Chicago can together forge the start of a true community of the future. In Bronzeville, a community on Chicago's South Side with a rich legacy of creativity and diversity, and home to educational facilities, healthcare facilities, and thousands of families.
The work that we do in Bronzeville will serve as a model that can then be expanded to other communities.
ComEd has already deployed smart meters to the region, putting control in the hands of Bronzeville residents to reduce energy usage and control costs. And ComEd is deploying smart switches to enable electricity to be rerouted instantaneously when there's a disturbance on the grid. ComEd proposes to develop a microgrid in Bronzeville. A microgrid is a small power grid that keeps power flowing in severe weather and emergency situations to ensure that hospitals can function and emergency responders can serve their communities.
We received a grant from the Department of Energy to build a microgrid controller, which will enable 2 microgrids to operate in parallel. It's the first of its kind.
Microgrids also give residents and communities the ability to embrace green energy. In the community of the future, residents can have access to detailed information about their energy use. They might have smart appliances and devices that can respond to pricing signals and energy markets. Smart traffic lights powered by sensors might optimize their commute to maximize efficiency and time. Smart parking management systems could allow residents to reserve parking spots on their smartphone.
The investments we have made in the smart grid has delivered record reliability and customer satisfaction. We will now be able to leverage this smarter more reliable and resilient grid to meet the evolving needs of our communities and fuel the 21st century digital economy.
The future, our cleaner energy future, delivering livability and workability in our communities starts now.
So this is exciting stuff. It is clean stuff, it's connected stuff, it's community stuff, it's the stuff of the new millennium. But we're not there yet. And the question I want to comment on as I close is, so how do we get there? I finally got my revolution. How do we see the revolution through? Well, we need to do a lot of things. We need smart engineers, we need customer product and service experts, we need policy and regulatory gurus. But most important, we need a network mindset. We need parties to come together, put their piece of the puzzle on the table, and be willing to have the debate about where and to what extent their piece fits into the overall network to deliver the broadest benefits to the broadest set of consumers. We need to keep the new principles in mind, but we shouldn't lose sight of the old: affordability, equitable access to this system. A network mindset, systems thinking, collaboration, a mindset of interdependencies and connectivity. So my final quote for the day: in times of great change, it is the learners who inherit the future. The learned find themselves equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. Eric Hoffer. Thank you very much.